South Africa has lost more than 68 billion rand in tourism since the start of the lockdown in March. This is according to the Tourism Business Council of South Africa. The nationwide lockdown saw establishments shutting doors to both local and international travellers, leaving hundreds of workers with little to no wages and establishments with little certainty of when they will be able to fully operate. Let's discuss the sector's recovery plans now with Tourism Minister Mamoloko Ngubane. Minister, good morning and thanks so much for your time. Let's just first look at how the sector is doing at the moment, especially after restaurants were allowed to open, casinos as well. We saw people being able to hike and go on game drives again. Have you seen a bit of an improvement?
Good morning as well to the listeners, to the viewers. We've seen improvement, but from the sector's feedback, it's that it's not enough because in terms of the numbers that they are seeing in their restaurants, accommodation, for example, I got feedback that some of the accommodation, the hotels, are seeing less than 10% occupancy rate, which is not sufficient to get them running. We've seen in the restaurants as well, it's two ways. One, those that are selling alcohol are saying to us, with closure of alcohol, they are not able to make profit. But also those who do not sell alcohol ordinarily, South Africans are not going out because they're scared of the virus. So there is that dual impact that we are starting to observe from the point of the department. So because of winter, we note that in terms of tourism, winter is normally not our peak season as tourism because people are cold, are staying indoors, ordinarily not going out. So what our hope in terms of recovery is that by the time it's festive, where is our peak time from September and upwards, we are able to see quite a lot of activities because that's where we normally have almost about 60% of our revenue coming during that time.
So in terms of moving forward, Minister, like you say, the suspension of alcohol sales has added another spoke in that wheel. People's fear, the public's fear of going out and going to places is the other one. So let's tackle one first. Have you taken these concerns about alcohol being quite a stumbling block, or the sale of alcohol, to the President, to the National Command Council?
The matters were discussed both in National Command Council and also in Cabinet. And when we presented the case for the restaurants and everybody else in the entertainment industry, for example, the feedback was the report that was presented to us and with evidence of the hospital's capacity. Now, what was presented before the National Command Council, together with Cabinet, was a report that shows that during lockdown level 5 and level 4, trauma units, emergency areas, the doctors, the nurses, the health practitioners were able to focus on dealing with actually medical issues. And when we opened for takeaway, they were able to show us the rise of trauma unit numbers of people who've been stabbed, accidents, and all those things. And all were related to alcohol because the individuals were drunk. It was in a fight of drinking people and all those things. So that was evidence that was presented. So the medical teams were saying, please save us. That's what was used as a basis. And hence Minister Mkhize went into detail during his media briefing to explain and give the figures around the impact of alcohol in the hospitals. And as we know now, for example, in Gauteng, that the capacity in hospitals is increasing because of COVID infections, and we are starting to run out of beds. So let's spare those beds for specifically people who are needing them out of COVID incidents and cases, and those who need medical attention, rather than caused by alcohol abuse. And I say this because we also need to have a better conversation, a proper conversation as the nation around the intake of alcohol and the abuse of alcohol, because there's nothing wrong taking alcohol moderate and like normally. But there is everything wrong with abuse and binging of alcohol.
Okay, Minister, so it seems like the tourism sector is just going to have to live with that for now. In terms of moving forward and dealing with people's fear, even like you say, you're preparing for peak season, which will be the festive season. I think that fear is going to be lingering even then. So in terms of developing protocols and your plan to recover, you've got a couple of months. Just give us some idea, some highlights of that plan.
Yes, we've worked together with the sector. We've been interacting. There are protocols that have been put in place. Currently, we receive feedback from the health practitioners in terms of now saying that the virus is airborne. So certain level of protocols have to be changed in what we have as the tourism industry. Because if you look at when we open the restaurant, we never mention the issues of opening the windows and all that, because there needs to be more fresh air and natural air circulation. So that has to come into the protocol. So we are in the process of reworking the protocol. Second, one of the things that we have decided, we will be reaching out to the sector to have conversation about where to from now. What are the things that we need to do, both jointly as government and the private sector? So I'm hoping that in those conversations we'll have detailed discussions. We have had our CEO at R68 leading the development of our tourism recovery strategy. Would want to take the entirety of the sector into that strategy to make sure that all of us are on the same page. Our focus is more on, firstly, recovering domestic tourism, but we are seeing, initially we thought that we'll say recover in terms of the region, meaning SADC, the continent. But when you look at globally, some of the regions are already opening up, so they would become at least something that we can tap into when we open our borders. So we want to be ready for that. So the revision in that part of the strategy would be important so that we can take the sector on board. But also one of the conversations that we currently have to have is that while the borders are not open, are we able to have those who have products that are destined for international markets, repositioning those products? Will it be possible? Some of them are saying already it will not be possible because their products in the manner that they are designed are for international markets, so therefore we have to open. But we'll have to have those conversations properly with the sector. But one of the things I need to say to the sector as well is remind them of my address on the 9th of March. Because on the 9th of March, we already said to the sector, there are 3 scenarios. First scenario, where we have mild cases, we are able to recover quickly within the second quarter. We know now that it's not happening. The second scenario we gave actually as well, we know that it's not going to happen. We are at the worst case scenario as we predicted. So we predicted 3 scenarios. And we said, if this is a worst case scenario, what will be the impact? And that's what the conversation now. And I'm hoping that the sector remembers what we have said and started to prepare themselves in terms of that. The reality is that I can't say we are not going to lose jobs. We are going to lose jobs.
Okay.
The reality is I can't say there are no businesses that are going to close. They are going to close. The issue for us is to say, how do we work so that we don't have a complete shutdown of the sector? Where do we go and pick up, work together, put our heads together, put our hands together and work together to save what we can of the sector?
Okay.
We will do our best as government to save our properties in terms of government-owned properties. Come on board to see how we can support them.
All right.
We have started conversation with Minister Christo on those.
All right. Thanks very much, Tourism Minister Mameloko Ngubane. Just a recovery plan for the tourism sector there, just some highlights. Let's take a